There are levels to this game. It's not just showing up. It's not just doing the work. It's the intensity. It's the mindset. It's the mentality that comes with it. It's not just that you did, but how you did, what you did, the effort you gave, the thought process behind it all as you went through this process. And I think that's where, well, a lot of people, including myself in some areas, fall down and don't get as much as they could out of this situation, as much as they could and should from the effort that they're giving. Because, you know, the guy who's showing up at the gym 3, 4, 5 times a week is 1,000 times better than the dude who's at home sitting on the couch. And we spoke the other day about the sadness of our society. Like, one of the statistics that came out is that they estimate that 1/3 of the population will reach full sedentary level by 2030. 1/3 will be classified as completely sedentary. That is mind-boggling. That means zero exercise. It means doing barely anything. Which is why the standard of, if you go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, you're already a disciplined person, exists. Because, well, if 1/3 of the population can do nothing, going 3 or 4 times a week to actually exercise is quite an accomplishment. But here's the problem. We aren't wanting to be slightly better than average. We aren't wanting to look at the mediocrity that is the standardized population and go, yeah, I'm better than that. No, we want to excel to what our highest level is. We want to be pushing to be the greatest version of ourselves. That, in my opinion, is the whole point of life. To constantly be growing and elevating in every area. That we are trying to be better. We are trying to excel. We are trying to push forward. That's the point. The point isn't just to exist. The point isn't just to plod along and just be like, well, this is life. Another day, another dollar, just showing up and existing in this life. I've spoken about it before. The idea of hanging out for the weekend because 5 out of the 7 days of your life suck so hard that you cannot wait to just sit around and do nothing. Well, that's a sad commentary on your existence. And we should aspire to more than that, but just more in general, just more overall. That we should be constantly pushing, well, to be the best version we can be. And that comes with, well, decisions and the levels that we play at. And as I said, I have been at that level. I remember when I was 30 kilos overweight, when I was truly and utterly disgusted with the man I was, the man in the mirror, that I was ashamed to take my shirt off, that, got lovely comments because children don't pull their punches from my daughter, and she's like, Daddy, why are your boobs bigger than mummy's? Things like this. But I was buying my own propaganda. I was believing my own hype. I was buying into my own bullshit of, well, I still work out 4 or 5 times a week. I eat better Monday to Friday than most people do. I'm still strong, fit, and capable. I can run up and down a basketball court. Look at me. Look how wonderful I am. Because if you compare yourself to the lowest metric, of course you're going to win. Of course you're doing better. If you're doing better than, Bob down the street, cool. Good job. Pat yourself on the back. But it's the reverse of keeping up with the Joneses. At least with keeping up with the Joneses, you're pushing yourself forward. Yes, true, it's often into debt, which has its own situations and things, but at least it's aspiring to more. This is keeping up with Joe Blow down the street to be slightly better than him. That's not an achievement. That's a sad reality. We are trying to elevate our game. As I said before, that if you have people who love and believe in you, whether it be your wife, children, friends, family, whoever it might be, it is your duty, your honor, and your obligation to be the greatest version of yourself. It is an obligation to constantly be elevating the game, to show up and give it your all. And as I said, there are levels to this. It's not just, hey, I went to the gym. Hey, I kind of eat all right. As I said, I did that and I was 30 kilos overweight. And I can promise you, even then, I could smoke you in most workouts. I'd be fitter than most people. Up and down the basketball court, I was still winning most games. I was taking names. I was fast. I was strong. I was fit. But I wasn't even close to an acceptable level. I was disgusted by myself in that. But you can convince yourself because you're ticking the box that you're doing good. And that's where we need to dive into it. That just ticking the box, just showing up, just doing that is not enough. Yeah, you might be doing better than most. But as we've discussed many times recently, doing better than most is not something to be proud of. The standard is on the floor. Like, it is disgusting how low the bar has been set now. There has never been a better time in human history to excel, to show up and dominate as the best version of yourself. If you're willing to do it. If you're willing to show up and win. If you're willing to put in effort. And this is what is required, that you put in effort. That you show up and you do what is necessary. And so it is about leaving it all out there. It is about doing it every single day. As I said, in demanding greatness. The first, it's built into 3 phases of 126 days, which is slightly over a year. So technically it's 54 weeks. And the first 126 days, there is no exceptions. It is a zero choice mentality. This ain't for the faint of heart. This is, I'm serious and I'm ready to change my life. I'm sick of seeing the man in the mirror. I'm sick of who I have been. And I want to leave that part of me behind. I want to step up and be the greatest version of myself. I cannot continue as this. And so with that, you have to end the previous version of you. You have to push forward into being the greatest version of you. You have to sacrifice who you were to become the man you know you should be. And it requires no days off. It requires no exceptions to the rule. It requires you just showing up every single day with consistency, intensity, and effort. And way more than you think should be given, for way longer than you think should be required. But we are trying to rewire your brain to become this new version of you. And that means you don't have the slipbacks. It means that you can't have the fall-offs. And it's incredibly difficult. But it'll change your whole world. It'll absolutely change everything about your life. It'll change who you are fundamentally. And we've discussed many times before that the body, the physical component, even though this is essentially a fitness program, is a nice little byproduct. The six-pack abs, loving the man in the mirror, being proud of how you show up in the world, those things are nice byproducts, but they are not the point. The point is who you become along the way. The point is who you have to become and what you have to give to reach that level. That is what is required. That is what is necessary. And that is what you must do. So, this is why we must invest. It is why we must give more intensity. And I spoke the other day and people are like, oh, well, that's not healthy. You need days off. What if you get rhabdo? What if you get sick? You need time to rest and recover. Look, to be honest, no. Most people have never worked out hard enough in their entire life to actually need to do that. And we're trying to shift that, for one. And two, it's about up here. It's about the mental game. It's about pushing your limits. Look, if you're going to be a bodybuilder or a power lifter or, compete in strongman, yeah, you need to have different programming. You need to have different things. But we are trying to build you into the greatest version of yourself. It is going to require something very different to what you've done before. It is going to require that you show up in a completely different level, because we're trying to rewire your psychology. And you need to give that maximum effort. You need to leave it all out there every single day. And you have to push to the absolute limit every time you step out there. And it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to be difficult, and it's going to require more than you think you have. And then you find another gear. It's about testing, who you are. And it's building that character from that test. Then you find out what you truly have. You find out who you truly are in those moments. Because, you left it all out there. You push to the limits on it. That's what you want out of this. That's what you're hoping to achieve. That you push so hard that, the game of life becomes easy. This is the practice ground. It means that you have purposely and deliberately taken on incredible levels of stress, incredible things that make you uncomfortable. And every day you choose them to overcome them. So when life throws things at you, you're like, bring it. I got this. Do you know what I do in my free time? Do you know what I choose to do every single day? That's the level you want to get to. That's the game we're trying to play at. That you get to be that guy. That you get to show up that way. And you get to make these choices. And that's how you change the game. Because as I said, it's very easy to tick a box. It's very easy to just show up. And not much change. It's very easy to be doing better than average. But that doesn't mean that you're actually excelling. It doesn't mean that you're actually progressing towards the life that you want. It doesn't mean that you are getting the most out of it or what you deserve out of it. Our brains have been wired now from your constant choices to choose the easy way, to choose simple, to choose what feels good in the moment, to listen to your emotions. So it's gonna take something that's extreme. It's gonna take something that is completely different to what you've done before to change that wiring for the better, to push you into something that is, demanding greatness of yourself. And no, the people around you will not understand. No, many of them will judge you and try and pull you back down, because what you are showing is that their life is a choice. That all those things that they complain about and they whinge about is a choice. Remember, there are two components to it, but your physical body and your reality are a direct reflection of your thoughts, habits, and choices. And your body is that resume of the choices that you make regularly. So if it's not one that you are proud of, if it's not one that you go, yeah, that's what I want, then, it might be time to make some different choices. It might be time to step up differently. It might be time to decide that who you have been is no longer good enough. And you want to step forward into the man that you know you can be. But you can't read the next chapter while you continue to reread the previous one. So it might be time to make different choices. It might be time to become the man that you know you can and should be. So if you are ready for that, if you are ready to step forward and become the man that you know you should be, you know where to find me. Click the link in my bio or shoot me a message. Let's change your life for the better and start demanding greatness.